Hello guys, in this tutorial I'm gonna show you how to create a 3D scene with multiple layers in Kroscloud. This is what we are going to create, a 3D presentation with 3 distinct layers. One layer will show a current state of the object, in our example, ruins of a medieval castle. This model was created using the photogrammetry approach. Second layer will be historic model of the castle, how the castle looked like in 15th century. This 3D model was created also by photogrammetry, but not, of course, not by photogrammetrying the real object, but by scanning a small handmade model. And finally, the third layer. In this example, the third layer doesn't make really sense, but it's here to show you how to import a 2D image into the 3D file and how to create a, for example, layer just from the 2D image. There is plenty of use cases for that, so I have placed like this kind of like a historic map of the castle just for the purpose of showcase. Okay, so let's go ahead. We will use Blender to merge the 3 pieces together, 2 3D files and 1 2D image. If you are not familiar with Blender, Blender is an open source 3D editing software. It's totally free, so I definitely recommend to download it and to get used to it a little bit. Small warning, if you are not used to Blender, Blender is a really complex software. It can be really intimidating to kind of jump into it. The first steps are sometimes, well, maybe not sometimes, but most of the time pretty frustrating. But trust me, it's worth the price. Blender is really powerful. If you want to do anything serious in 3D, it's definitely needed. Of course, there are other like paid options like 3ds Max, Maya, and so on. But if you are watching this tutorial, I guess you will go for Blender. When you open Blender, this is what you will see. It's pretty legendary scene with the cube, camera, and light objects. For our purpose, as we are going to import another 3D objects, 3D files into our scene, we don't want definitely these objects to be here. So you can press A to select all the objects at the scene, and then press X and delete all the objects. So now we have an empty scene. So now we will find our first 3D file we want to merge into our scene. You can import whatever format you want. Here I have a GLB file, but in the very same way you can import OBJ files, FBX files, and so on. So let's drag and drop the GLB file to the Blender window, and here in this dialog, you don't have to change anything. Just click import, and that's it. So now we have our first layer, first object. It's the 3D model of the current state of the castle. So let's import the other object, the historic reconstruction from the 15th century. Okay, and now the tricky part. Of course, if we want to show these objects as separate layers, and these objects shows basically the same real thing, I mean the same castle, so it means the objects must align to each other. This can be really tricky to kind of like scale, rotate, and move. If you have, like for example, as in this case, if you have 2 objects created by photogrammetry, of course they're not gonna be in the same scale most of the time. So you have to scale it, move it, and place it so they align each other. In this case, as I don't want to make this tutorial overly complex, so I have already prepared these objects so they align they align perfectly. So I'm just, like moving it, so you can see the principle. Now as I drag one object, you can see like these towers are pretty good to align, good objects to align. Okay, so now we can say we are okay with position of the objects. So now let's import the 2D map. As I said previously, there will be 3 layers, 2 3D objects and 1 2D map. To import the image with the 2D image, like a JPEG or PNG file, you cannot just drag and drop the image into the Blender's window as we did with the 3D files, because in this case Blender will not create a classic 3D object from this image. So to do it properly, we need to add an image and mesh plane. It's important, because we need to add the image as a classic 3D object. In this case, a plane is a 2-dimensional 3D object plane, and it will create a texture of this plane based on the selected image. So let's select this one. Now you can maybe see nothing happen, but the image is here. We just need to scale it a lot. So I have hidden the 3D objects to see it better. Let's turn the 3D objects on again, and now we need to scale the 2D map so it aligns with the position of the 3D objects of the castle as it is in reality. It's definitely easier than to merge 3D objects, but anyway, we need to rotate it definitely and scale it a little bit more. The castle is still too big compared to the 2D map. I think it's still too big. By pressing S, you can simply scale the object. So let's place it like this. I think that's good for our purpose. Now the position of the castle align with its position on the map. We can also turn on the historic reconstruction, the model of the castle in 15th century, but it aligns too. So yeah, I think that's it. And now, this is not totally necessary, but it definitely helps us in Kroscloud. We will rename the objects in Blender to some meaningful name like map, let's say historic model, and today like for the current state of the object. And now let's go to export and export it as a GLB file. Kroscloud also support importing OBJ files, but with GLB files they are definitely much easier to handle with. So I am gonna do export as a GLB. In these options, I think we are good to go. We don't have to change anything, so we can just export it with the name merged.glb. Okay, that's it. So that's it for the Blender part. And now let's go to Blender to upload this 3D file and create the 3D scene. Okay, so we are in Kroscloud. We are already signed in, so we can go to the My Board page, and here we will select the Create 3D Scene option, and we will drag and drop our GLB file that we have previously created in Blender, and we will drop it here. Okay, we can check that it's really our file. We will give it some meaningful name, meaningful title like Layers Tutorial, and that's it for this upload dialog. You can also set the camera here, but we will do it later in the editor, so we don't have to worry about it right now. And the 3D scene is created. We can see it here in the folder. So let's go to the edit mode. And you can see right now we see all the 3 layers at once. Before we will adjust the layers, I'm gonna just select some background, you know, to look just a little bit better. And also I will create 2 points of interest, you know, just to show you how the points of interest works when creating layers. So let's create one with, let's give it some title, some info point of interest, and let's create another, just as an example. Let's give it a title, another point of interest. Let's gonna be really creative. Okay, so we have 2 points of interest and three objects at our scene. So let's go to layers menu and add new layer. The first layer will be the layer of the current state of the object. So we will give it a title, current state, and this is the important part. Down here there is a tree of all the objects in our file. You can see there are three labels, 3 leaves of the tree with the name today, historic, and map. These names, if you remember, we named our objects in Blender with these names. So in this case, as we are creating layer of the current state, it means we want to show only the 3D model of the current state. And in this tree view, you select objects you want to hide, objects that you don't want to show at the given layer. So in this case, we're gonna check the historic and the map as these 2 layers we want to hide at this layer. On the right, there are the points of interest we created. So you can choose what points of interest you want to display at this new layer. This could be a little bit confusing, but I'm pretty sure you will get used to it. So in this layer, just let's show only the first point of interest. Click create, and now we have our first layer. In this case, it shows the current state with 1 point of interest. Let's create the second layer. The second layer will show the model of the castle in 15th century. In the dialog below, we will choose to hide the today and map objects. So only the historic object will be shown. And points of interest, for example, let's show just the second point of interest at this layer. Voila, you have the second layer, and at the third one will be just the 2-dimensional map. So we will hide both 3D objects and keep only the map, and we will hide all the points of interest. So there will be only the 2-dimensional map displayed. At the right, there is a drop down where you can swap between the layers in the editor. And now we will do important thing. For each layer, we will set a camera. This setup means that when user choose this layer, the camera will be set up to this given position. So we will cycle through all the layers, and for each layer we will set up the camera. For example, like this. And for the 2D map, let's place the camera in another position. So like this, for example. Okay. Now let's gonna set up the main camera. In this dialog, we will set the minimum and maximum distance the camera can achieve. Also, we can choose the field of view of the camera, but let's keep it at the 50 degrees. And we also set up the bottom border of the camera, so user will not be able to go under the model, which is not really good user experience. So let's limit it to this position, you know. Okay, let's gonna save it. And that's basically it. Maybe one more thing, you know, when as you can see at the MyBoard page, our 3D scene still has this ugly thumbnail showing all the 3 layers. So we're gonna fix it as with the current state layer selected. We will go to the thumbnail menu and generate new thumbnail. This thumbnail will be generated based on the current camera position in the editor. So now let's go back, refresh the page, and now you can see our 3D scene has a cool new thumbnail. Okay, I think that's it. Now let's go to test our scene in the public viewer. As you can see, when the scene is loaded, camera is in position as we selected in the camera dialog. There is one point of interest and layers menu visible. When user switch to another layer, the objects are changed accordingly with the camera position we selected at the layers menu. Now one more feature, in the layers menu you can select a dynamic layer. What does it mean? With the dynamic layer you can set one layer to be kind of a fast switch. So when user, for example in our case, mark the 15th century layer as a dynamic, when the user then on the current state layer long press left mouse button on a mobile devices, you know, long touch, he will change the layer dynamically for just for the moment of the long click or long touch. This is a great feature when user wants to compare the appearance of the castle, for example, in different historical periods. User don't have to click on the layers button and choose different layer. He can just long press the button or on mobile device he can use long touch to just quickly change the layer and compare the 2 layers between them.